L'honorable secrétaire parlementaire au ministre de l'Innovation.
Grazie signor Presidente. Sono fiero di alzarmi in questa Camera storica e istruita per dare il mio appoggio a questo progetto. Monsieur le Président, je suis fier de me lever aujourd'hui dans cette Chambre historique pour donner mon appui à ce projet de loi avancé par la membre de King Vaughan et avec l'appui de tous les membres du caucus italo-canadien dans le Parlement. En tant que fils d'une famille italienne, en tant que député, je suis très fier que cette motion soit présentée devant cette Chambre, justement pour souligner la contribution importante que les Italo-Canadiens ont faite à notre pays tout au long de leur histoire, une histoire qui était bien décrite par mon collègue de Saint-Léonard avec beaucoup de fierté et passion. Et je souligne la collaboration que j'ai avec mes collègues de Québec, le député d'Alfred Pellan, ainsi que le député de Saint-Michel-Saint-Léonard, et c'est un plaisir de travailler avec eux. Au fil des années, Monsieur le Président, la communauté italienne, composée de plusieurs vagues d'immigration, a changé le visage du pays et avec cette motion, nous prenons un premier pas justement pour reconnaître ce fait historique. Évidemment, il y aura d'autres mesures à prendre, surtout à rectifier l'histoire de l'internement des Italo-Canadiens au pays. Et ça devrait être un deuxième pas que cette Chambre devrait faire dans l'avenir. The Italian experience in Canada, Mr. Speaker, can't be reduced to cliches, but should be reduced to the very real contributions that Italian Canadians have made in a wide variety of places. I'll speak to the experience of my family, Mr. Speaker. My father came from the province of the Marches in 1951 as a skilled laborer, a carpenter. He worked in a factory context for much of his life, but then branched out, left the factory, branched out on his own to found his own construction company in Port Colborne, Ontario. My fondest memories as a child, Mr. Speaker, were tagging along with my father and hanging around on construction sites and learning how to use a hammer and a saw, skills that I still have today, Mr. Speaker. My mother, after my father's early death, became well known in the Niagara Peninsula as a caterer at a number of the different Italian-Canadian clubs and halls that were so important, still are so important to Italian-Canadian culture. And I would like to underline, there are a number of historic Italian Canadians, but I would like to underline one who has been a mentor to me, the Honourable Justice Frank Iacobucci, because in a number of different contexts, Frank was a groundbreaking Italian Canadian. First of all, as an academic at the University of Toronto, in law, again, a subject area. There are many Italian Canadian lawyers, but really Justice Iacobucci was the first great Italian Canadian academic, legal academic. He then went on, Mr. Speaker, to become a university administrator at the University of Toronto, then a Deputy Minister of Justice for this government at the federal level under Prime Minister Brian Mulroney, and then became the first Italian Canadian to be the Chief Justice of the Federal Court of Canada, as well as the first Italian Canadian named to the Supreme Court. And this pathway, Mr. Speaker, was groundbreaking for Italian Canadians, and Justice Iacobucci served as a model to many of us moving through Canadian society. Mr. Speaker, I'm honored to represent the riding of La Salle Imard Verdun in Montreal, which has a large population of Italian Canadians, many of whom from my region of Italy, the Marches, but also from Sicily and Calabria and other parts of Italy as well. And I can assure you, Mr. Speaker, that it is a vibrant community with a number of different organizations, a number of different events, and they are very proud of their Italian heritage and their Italian traditions. As I see every time someone offers me a glass of homemade wine, Mr. Speaker. I would also like to point out that in the city of my birth, Port Colborne, Ontario, there is a large Italian-Canadian population in the Niagara Peninsula, as the member from Niagara Falls will attest, as the member from Niagara Centre will attest, and the member from St. Catharines. And these, too, are vibrant populations that continue to thrive and promote the Italian heritage in Canada. We should speak about values, Mr. Speaker, the values that Italian Canadians brought. They brought faith, Mr. Speaker, a progressive faith. They brought the value of family and reinforced that, continue to reinforce that in their daily lives. Of course, there's food, Mr. Speaker, and I like to joke by saying I never knew that most Canadian kids didn't eat pasta every day until I went to school and saw what other kids were eating. I'm proud of that, Mr. Speaker, as I'm proud of the many recipes that my mother brought. I'm proud of the language that I have passed on to my children. But I would also like to move beyond those and say there were values of intellect and ingenuity that came with Italian-Canadian immigrants. It is a vibrant, intelligent culture that applied their knowledge in a variety of different sectors in Canada, as well as business acumen and know-how in order to help grow the Canadian economy. Finally, Mr. Speaker, I want to point out that it is the future that this motion points us towards. We need to be thinking about continued collaboration with Italy. Italy has an excellent record in terms of its universities and its innovative sectors. Mr. Speaker, I had the good fortune as a legal academic to be a fairly common lecturer and professor in a number of Italian universities over the course of my academic career, with particular ties to the universities in Trento, Perugia, Torino, and Rome. And here I was witness firsthand to the ongoing collaboration between Canadian and Italian academics and scientists and lawyers, etc. And it is these innovative collaborations that will help us develop a variety of different sectors that we deem important in our economy moving forward in this century, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my parents worked exceedingly hard. They made a number of sacrifices for their children. We in this House know how hard we work as MPs, Mr. Speaker. I know how hard I work as an MP, Mr. Speaker. But let me tell you, frankly, that I don't work half as hard as my parents did. And for that example, Mr. Speaker, for the example that many of the those of us in this House who had Italian-Canadian parents, or still fortunate enough to have Italian-Canadian parents, that example is critically important to the way we orient our lives, to the service that we give to our family, to our faith, to our community, and to our country. And for that reason, Mr. Speaker, I am so proud to support this motion brought forward today. Thank you.